Welcome to another episode of SantorSnakes. On this episode, we are going to tell you our top 5 questions to ask a seller before purchasing one of their snakes.
Thank you to all that liked and subscribed.
Now, cue that intro.
Starting in at number 5, we have the bodily functions.
Yes, so it's a good idea to ask questions regarding the bodily functions of the snake that you are interested in. So examples of that are asking if it poops regularly, if it sheds regularly and has nice full sheds. That's a very important thing to make sure that the snake is having those healthy kinds of bodily functions.
Coming in at number 4, we have the health history.
It's important to make sure that you ask at least one question about the health history of the snake that you're interested in. But a couple things that you may want to talk about are mites. If it's ever had a respiratory infection or RI, or if it's ever been injured, whether that's just in its enclosure or if it's been live fed, has it been injured by a meal fighting for its life, anything like that. But very important to know that you're getting a healthy animal and ask about the health history.
Coming in at number 3, we have the behavior.
So asking about the behavior of the specific animal is super important. You want to make sure that it's only getting defensive when it should be. You want to ask how often it's held and how it reacts to being held, if it has ever bitten anybody or how often it bites, that kind of thing. How often a snake gets defensive or bites is not necessarily a golden rule of, oh, it's not a good snake to have, just because if you don't use the proper techniques and things to get your snake out of its enclosure or things like that, it can really affect its behavior. So just because a snake has had issues behaving for someone else doesn't mean that it will for you with proper care and husbandry.
At number 2, we have the enclosure.
Yes, so you need to ask about its habitat or its environment, however you want to say that. Enclosure, is it kept in a tub? Or does it have a glass enclosure, the PVC? Ask those types of questions about its environment. Is it a large tank? Is it small? Ask what size is it? But along with that size and style of habitat, what's even more important is the temperature and the humidity. So you want to make sure that they have been keeping the temperature range right, having a hot and cold side, but then also the humidity range at a suitable spot there. And then that also lets you know, if you're less experienced, what to keep the temperature and the humidity at for the snake once it goes home with you.
Before we get to our number 1 question to ask a seller,
Oh, what question almost made our top 5?
is it a boy or a girl?
For some people, it's very important to know if the snake that they're getting is male or female, especially if you're intending to breed that animal eventually. It is possible to determine the sex of a snake when they are young by either popping or probing the snake, but some sellers don't even know that information. And with the vast majority of snakes, you cannot tell just by looking at the snake if it is male or female. With a few types, you can tell by the length or the width of the tail, but most of the time you can't tell.
Our number 1 question to ask the seller is, what food does it eat?
Right, very important for you to have that information. What is the snake eating? Is it mice? Is it rats? Is it chicks? If you've got a big snake, it might even be like guinea pigs or rabbits. Baby snakes may be eating pinkies, or they may be cut up pinkies, depending on that size of that baby. And it's good to know that information. Additionally, it's good to know, is the snake eating live or is it eating frozen thawed? You are going to want to know how often the snake is being fed. You're going to want to know when the last time that the snake was fed, so you know when the next time to feed it. And then you may want to ask an additional question about food and if the snake has ever had an issue with feeding and has regurgitated a meal. All right, guys, that is it. Our top 5 questions to ask a seller before purchasing one of their snakes. We very much hope that you enjoyed it, and we thank you, as always, for watching.
Thank you for learning with us.
And we'll catch you on the next one.